and I just like, okay, look. And it was all lives that had already ended. I be forgetting to check that folder, the message request folder. But his was at the top, and it said 60 messages. I said, what in the... So I looked, and, you know, of course it says live ended, live ended, live ended, live ended. I'm like, okay. So I wait a little bit, and it sends another one, like... And he sent a message after. He was like, could you join my live? I said, I don't even know who you are or what you talking about. Why? And he was like, okay, you don't have to join it, but just listen. So, okay. Soon as I click on it, he's got Hebrew Israelite up there. And he is doing yet another rant talking about they're the real natives. They're the real ones indigenous to America. And he singled me out in the live and was like, and I got Bonnet Boss tuned in. Do you see why we say we the real ones? And I said, okay, I said, I got to ask you a question because I'm just trying to put two and two together. How you gonna say you're the real native people indigenous to the land of America, and I watched this video for 5 minutes and you're also saying you're the real Jewish? Israelite. Israel. Native to America. So you able to be real from both? Help me understand. And he was like, I know it may not make sense to you. I said, no, answer my question. Don't worry about if it makes sense to me. Answer my question. What are you trying to tell me? Are you telling me you're the real Jewish people or the real native? Because you can't be both. And he was like, he just kept going around it. So, I mean, don't mention me unless you're going to tell me what you're telling me. Hello? I'm allowed to ask questions. You tag me.
All praise to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. This lesson is going to be entitled Hebrew Israelites. How can you be Jewish and natives? How can you be Jewish and Native Americans? And, you know, I use the term Jewish very lightly because that's really a misnomer. Okay, we're not Jewish. We're the real Jews and Israelites. Jews meaning from the tribe of Judah, but also from the southern kingdom of Judah, which is Judah, Levi, and Benjamin. That's the southern kingdom. And the northern kingdom is the Native Americans and Latinos. Okay, not every single Latino, not every single Native American, and not even every single Negro. Okay, understand what we're saying when we say that. But those are the people that we, you know, that are Israelites. But you have your exceptions to the rule. Those that are, you know, go back to other nations. Anyway, there was a video put up by this woman here, Bonnet Business, which at the end of the day, you women really ought to stop wearing these damn bonnets on videos. You're not doing it as you trying to cover your head. You're doing that because, I don't know, women sleeping, you know, sleeping them or whatever. And here it is. The rest of the, you know, your regular life, everybody got to see a damn bonnet. But when you go to the club to shake your booty around them damn drug dealers, then you want to look your best and have your hair showing. It's really stupid. But anyway, Salakia for that. So let's get into what she asked. So obviously she asked some unlearned Israelite. You got a lot of that. A lot of jakes profess that you these Israelites. You got these live streams. You're doing all of that. But you don't have the spirit and you can't explain. If somebody asks you a question, you're supposed to be able to explain it. So she asked, how can we be, you know, and I put the word Jewish in it really for clickbait more, because we don't call ourselves that. We're the Jews and the Israelites, the southern and the northern kingdom. So she says, how can we be Jewish but also still be natives or indigenous? Now, first, you need to look up the word. Let me close that. When you go to the word indigenous, this is what it says. It says, definition 1, originating or occurring naturally in a particular place, native. And when you look at the so-called Native Americans, the tribes of Gad and Reuben, this was their land before the so-called white man came over here and stole it. Okay, took it from them. Now, this is not where they originally came from, but they were the ones that were here. Definition 2 of people inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before the arrival of colonists. And that's really what we want to focus it to. The Native Americans and the Latinos, right? You had certain tribes of them were dwelling over here in this land before the so-called white man came, and their roots go back to the tribes of Israel. Don't take my word for it. Now first, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64. So this is answering her question. And anybody like that's got that question, okay? A perfect opportunity to just do a little, go into a quick lesson. Deuteronomy 28:64, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth, even unto the other. Very plain, very clear. The Israelites are exiled from their land, pursuant to the curses, in this particular curse, and they're going to live in every place all over the earth, being scattered. This is what the diaspora is. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth, even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So try to follow. We've been scattered. And for those of you that doubt, even the Savior spoke on this. Okay? He spoke on this. This is Luke 21, verse 24. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword. When you look into it, it's talking about the Israelites. Right? If you look up here, and when ye shall see Jerusalem, verse 20, compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Right? And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. It goes on, it says, they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So this is also confirming that the Israelites will be scattered into all nations, right, by captivity. And it wasn't just captivity, also by migrating. So you have, it's just backing up what's written in Deuteronomy. The Lord, Moses spoke on it in Deuteronomy. The Lord came back and confirmed it in the book of Luke. Now, when you go into Second Esdras, it talks about the 10 tribes. So it's going back to the lady's question. Yeah, the Israelites, we're bloodline descendants of the ancient Israelites, right? But we can also still be native to this land because Israel is made up of 12 tribes. You see? So when you got certain jakes that'll try to say we Native Americans or whatever. No, the 12 tribes are many different nations and company of nations and different tribes. Now, it's been argued that the Native Americans look more like Negroes back then. Maybe so. No big deal. Right? You still have the strong native features, and you even have what's known as the Indian reclassification. Is that what it's called? I think it's called the Indian. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it's the Indian Reclassification Act. A lot of the darker shade of Native Americans were described or put under the status as Negroes. The lighter shade, if they was really light, they were put under the status of Caucasian, maybe even. Okay? But there's a lot of layers to it, but overall, you have people in America right now who think that they're so-called Negroes and they're in fact Native Americans, and we got them among us. I myself have, Native American blood going back to my mother's side of the family, but my father's side is what? So-called Negroes. Okay? Anyway, Salaki, I didn't want to get off on that. I just wanted to mention that. So here, this is 2 Esdras 13 and verse 40. It says, verse 39, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him. Now, this is the Savior is talking about. But just to give you, a snippet out of the scriptures, it says, those are the 10 tribes, which is the northern kingdom, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, which is Hosea, or Hoshea, the king, who Salmanazar, the king of Assyria, see, the Assyrian captivity, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. Okay? So during the time of, it said that they were led away into the Assyrian captivity. But then what happened? But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where mankind never dwelt. So if mankind never dwelt there, and they were the inhabitants of the land, what does that make them? That makes them indigenous. We just read the definition of it, right? Did we not read that in the definition? Definition 2, of people inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before the arrival of colonists. And they were there, the Latinos and Native Americans, they were there before the so-called white settlers came over here from Great Britain and from other parts of Europe. Okay? Let's read that again. It says, Salakia. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osea the king, who Salmanazar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. Didn't the Savior also talk about that? Being led away captive into all nations? Deuteronomy 24 said the same. So you have the southern kingdom in captivity and then being sold, being ruled over by the Romans, and then they were sold into captivity. Further than that, they had ran into the interiors of Africa later on, right? And it was sold into slavery later on by the so-called Africans to the so-called white man to this side of the world, joining these natives, if you would call them, the 10 tribes that was already over there. It says again, whom Salmanazar, the king of Assyria, led away captive and carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes that they never kept in their own land. So this is when they came over here. They left their Syrian captivity and they came to this side of the world. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. Let me read that again. And they entered Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. And you got people that'll argue that or whatever, but it doesn't matter. You can argue it all you want to. So when it says the Most High held still the flood, you got those jet stream currents that guided and helped them come over here. That was the will of the Lord. They went around the Horn of Africa and they came to this side of the world. All right. So then, now imagine, fast forward a few, however, 100 years later, and the so-called Negro tribes get rounded up by the Hamites and sold into slavery to this side of the world, right? And now we all, you got all 12 tribes in one place. Let's read that. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. And we know that's not back in the ancient land of Babylon, because in the land of Babylon, you only had the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom was in the Assyrian captivity, right? And then later on, you see Judah, right, being ruled over by the Romans and then persecuted and then driven out of that land. Okay? Now, like I just described to you, the 10 tribes came over here to this side of the world, and then Judah, Levi, and Benjamin were also sold to this side of the world by the Hamites. It goes, and this is what is going into us being together in this land. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel, the southern kingdom, and the children of Judah were oppressed together in the same place. We're all here in Babylon now. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. And really, they're speaking of ancient Babylon, but spiritually, this is talking about Babylon the Great in the future, because again, ancient Babylon did not have all 12 of the tribes in captivity there together. Okay? So we know for a fact, this is speaking in the future of Babylon the Great. All right? So that gives you that. And we're going to all be delivered from this place at the same time together. Jeremiah 3:17, it says, at that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it, to the name of the Lord. To Jerusalem neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel. What does it mean? They're going to all be on one accord. The southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom of Israel are going to be on one accord. No more enmity, no more fighting. You're going to come back together in peace. It says, and they shall come together out of the land of the north. Now, where's the land of the north? That's over here. The same region is called Osiris. This is over here in Babylon the Great. It says, in those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. We're going to leave out of Babylon, the land of the north, together, and we go into the Holy Land. You can see this in Jeremiah 16. That's when the Savior comes and he takes us home. Jeremiah 16 and 14. I got the wrong verse. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. That's the old Exodus. But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands which he had driven them. So not every single Israelite is over here in Babylon the Great. All 12 of the tribes are present. The bulk of them are here, but we also are still in so-called Africa, and we all over the earth. You see? But the 12 tribe sign is focused on this side of the world. That's why you see only certain nations being listed on the 12 tribe sign. Very simple, and we've explained it 1,000 times. It says, that brought up, but the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into the land that I gave unto their fathers. There you go. So who's going to be the one to do this? The Savior's going to come and retrieve us all. Not every single Israelite, but the elect of the Israelites. In Jeremiah 23 and 5, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and the king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and that branch is Yahushua, right? In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, the southern and the northern kingdom. Backing up what we just read in Jeremiah 16 and 14 through 15 and Jeremiah 3:18. It says, and this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whether I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. So all of it is there together, consistent, and you can easily see it with a nice, neat bow. The Savior's going to come and take us out of this land. So yeah, while we are Hebrew Israelites, we also are the real natives to this land. Not every single tribe. The Negro tribes were brought here, right? The 10 tribes, they were indigenous to this side of the world, right? Down in Puerto Rico, different places over there in so-called Mexico, South America, right? And we was also here in the New World, as it was called, America, Babylon the Great. So, it is a little confusing, but at the same time, you got to go back and piece it together. But that's why we here. So, like you said, the lady said it, don't worry about if it's confusing or if it makes sense. Just answer her question. So your question is answered, bonnet business. Not like you're going to get it anyway. You seem a little thick in the skull, but whatever. Maybe you'll still get it. But you are Israelite, no matter what, if you came from a Native American, Latino, or whatever, right? For the most part. Now, again, you got those that is Latinos, Native Americans, and Negroes whose fathers go back to so-called white people or Edomites or conquistadors or one of the settlers. We ain't talking about them. We talking about those indigenous and those who come from that seed. You know how we break it down. I ain't gonna beat the dead horse, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it. So if you ask the right questions to the right people, you can get the right answers, and that's all. And we just so happen to be those guys through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So Lord willing, you understand those out there that's got that question. And I know people gonna still ask more questions on top of that, because you think that we got to be able to convince you 100%. Well, see, I got my bloodline go back to, Chief Running Hoe or whatever. Nah, we ain't doing all that. If you can believe it, good. If you can't believe it, doesn't matter, because the truth is only for who it's for. So those that can receive it, bless you. Those that can't receive it, you can just die. All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. Shalom.